Um, should I start, Mandy?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Katelynn Telford. I am the Music and Arts Librarian at SUNY Fredonia, and I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Mandi Shepp. I'm the coordinator of special collections and archives at Daniel Reed Library in SUNY Fredonia. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for accepting our proposal.
So we are going to be talking today about some of the work that we've done on our historical popular sheet music collection. But first, we thought it would be appropriate to give a little bit of background on the campus that we work. So SUNY Fredonia began in 1826 as the Fredonia Academy, which evolved into the Fredonia Normal School, and then eventually became part of the SUNY system. SUNY Fredonia is known for its School of Music, particularly music education, music performance, that kind of thing. Mandi, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'll just say the music collections here are very rich. We have a lot of historic ones. Usually, traditionally, once the catalog music scores got to a certain age or a certain worn quality, they would either come down to special collections as like rare, but it just means that they're old and not necessarily rare. So it's been a bit of an interesting thing. This historical popular sheet music collection is the first like true shared collection between archives and the music circulating collection. So it's been interesting to figure out what exactly this is and how it folds into the tradition of music education at Fredonia.
This also may be a good time to mention that neither of us are designated catalogers. We are a pretty small staff. If my boss were here, she would say mean and lean. Neither of us really are super skilled in cataloging, but we are making our way through it. And we have a great support system through SUNY that allows us to get help with our cataloging questions. They help us with original and copy cataloging. So between our subject specialties and their skills in cataloging, we've been able to do a lot of great work with collections like this.
Yeah, to expand upon that, we haven't had an actual full-time cataloger on staff in probably 15, 20 years. It's been a slimming down of positions here, and everybody kind of gets other work folded into their responsibilities. My background in special collections, I have rare books cataloging training. That's where I come from with this. My background is in spiritualism and that sort of thing. So it's very different. Not a lot of music encountered in spiritualism, and definitely not a lot of score cataloging. So between my rare books, old things cataloging, and Katelynn's music cataloging skills, that's kind of what's been guiding us through this process.
Mhm. As Mandi mentioned, we have a ton of music-related collections, both circulating and in special collections. One of those is our historic popular sheet music collection. We abbreviate it to HPSM because it does take up a lot of real estate. So from here on out, you'll see HPSM. So this collection was originally kind of a mystery to all of us. It kind of consisted of a bunch of sheet music in moving boxes that had been stuck under a table or in a closet for a very long time. Only recently, like in the past couple of years, have we really been able to sit down and process the materials in this collection. And once we processed the initial batch, we started to be contacted from other donors interested in donating their batches of sheet music. So it has grown in recently pretty substantially. We currently have over 5,000 scores in this collection in print. We've also been working on digitizing the scores in the public domain onto our DSpace repository. Scores in this collection cover hundreds of years from the early 1800s into the 1990s. Anything to add to this one, Mandi?
The box on the left is our usage stats from DSpace. So it's a pretty widely used digital collection. The problem is it's only been treated like a digital collection, and the physical materials didn't really get a lot of thought. So it's kind of a weird knot to untangle.
Mhm. So there were definitely a few key problems that we faced when we're trying to untangle these knots. The first of these were the subject headings. So Mandi will get into this in a bit, but our predecessors who worked with this collection were really focused on the cover art and did not really pay a lot of attention to the music itself. So this is an example of one of the pieces in our collection. And these were some of the subject headings that we would see in DSpace for the music that had been processed. There's nothing inherently wrong with these subjects, but they definitely went overboard. Anything that they could identify on the cover, they would include in this list. So it became very unruly very quickly. So we really wanted to focus more on kind of balancing things out between the cover and the content of the music itself. So we worked to kind of eliminate some of the subject headings that didn't really encompass the piece as a whole. And we tried to centralize it a little bit more so it encompasses the piece as a whole and not just an piece of art or the music itself, trying to kind of centralize that a bit.
I will also add, there were instances where one single piece, one single title would have up to like 60 subject headings affiliated with it in the digital collection, which is too many for a 4-page piece of music. And it wasn't, they would pull keywords off of it as well. So they would have like a subject heading for the publisher, Vitagraph would be included, and a lot of them were also just not really standardized subject headings. Some of them were just kind of made up or pulled from, I don't know where, in some of the processing of these collections. So slimming it down was really our top priority to kind of figure out what exactly we have in this collection, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and what we wanted to do with it.
So similar to the subjects themselves were the formatting of these subjects. I'm not sure how many of you use DSpace for your collections, but we sometimes find some of its features to be less than intuitive. So an example of this was when people were processing these pieces of music to add to DSpace, the way that they formatted their subjects could result in a very long list of the same subject. Taking a step back from the piece as a whole, if you were to browse this collection by the types of subjects it contained, you may find pages of subjects that are essentially all the same, but if they have an extra period at the end or spaces in between the dashes, or something is spelled wrong, all of those in DSpace were treated as separate subjects. So I use this example because this is one of the most widely held subjects in this collection. There were dozens and dozens of the same subject that were represented. It took up so much real estate that I imagine any user who is not familiar with this collection, it was very difficult to find pieces that they were looking for because they were scattered within like these variations of the same subject. So I am now going to pass the mic over to Mandi, who will be talking about our next series of problems for this collection.
Sure. So the other problem with this, as I had mentioned before, is the intent of the materials. It had only been prioritized as a digital collection with the intent of scanning primarily the covers of these folios and presenting them as visual pieces. This is an example of one of the pieces in DSpace. So you see kind of how it turns out. Every one of these also has a MARC record for it that shows up in our catalog with a link to the item in DSpace, but not really reflecting any way of how to access it in a way that's not digital or any sort of mention that the physical items were also held here. So it was just sort of this strange shameful collection that we had hidden away. Next slide. So this had been like a strange project because it really had no plan. There was not a lot of thought into what happens, or do we grow it, or what do we do with it? Because of the mysterious origins, we didn't really have a lot of paperwork for it, so we weren't sure what the donor had intended either. And it was just this strange thing that we just had. So the previous plan was to prioritize digital facsimiles and creating this physical collection in our SUNY DSpace repository, prioritizing the description of the cover art and applying Library of Congress subject headings to that cover art, and then kind of billing this as an art collection or a visual media collection as opposed to a music collection, which I felt was strange. So they also wanted to add every folio was in the circulating library catalog. There is no way to access the physical collection. If you requested the physical item, they would not honor that request. They wouldn't like pull it out of storage for you. They also did this lovely thing that drives my archival self up a wall, one item per folder. So if 4 pieces had the same title, if they were the same piece with different covers or different publishers, everyone got a separate folder. So there's no way to find like items with like items. Like the bucketing was just bad. And then they shared this collection between special collections and archives and the circulating music collection, but no one actually took ownership of it. It wasn't the music libraries, nor was it the archives. It was this strange Wild West no man's land collection that just sort of floated around. So what Katelynn and I kind of put our heads together with and came up with is a new plan to strategically digitize the collection materials, not just blankly anything that's in the public domain. We wanted to prioritize things that weren't held by other institutions. So having like, okay, if this title is there, someone can search the internet and see, oh, this repository or this institution has a PDF of that in their digital sheet music collection. So we shouldn't duplicate that effort. That's silly. So kind of streamlining the whole digitization and facsimile making process was a top priority for us. And then, like Katelynn had mentioned as well, applying the subject headings to the whole item instead of just the pictorial cover to make that a little bit better. We processed the initial 30 boxes of the physical collection as an archival collection, and we store it now in archives with our signature pieces. And then we refolded that during that rehousing process. So the folders have title based buckets instead of every individual item has its own folder. We also formally decided to share the stewardship between the music collection and the special collections and archives, so that we can actually make policy decisions and decide how this collection should be treated. So we formally accessioned it between the two of us. We also established our new collecting scope and parameters, decided that we wanted to open this up to other popular music donations. And if other sheet music donations showed up, we now had kind of guidelines to go by for, is this something we want? Does this fit what we're looking for? Rather than, hey, it's old sheet music, let's add it to the collection. Next slide. Go back. And then the third problem was this, with this, like we had said, it's a legacy project. No one knew how it started. We didn't know how the original donation got here. There was no paperwork, of course. So this has just been like a big, weird cataloging mystery that we have had to kind of completely shift around. And really the moment we decided to formally take ownership of this collection and what we wanted to do with it, it started to make a lot more sense, and it gave us kind of the freedom to really be creative and decide what the structure of this collection was. We're still working out the ability to streamline DSpace links into the MARC record items, and making the having discussions about how we want to keep this in the catalog versus in a finding aid, or how to do this, because once you have a 5,000 item collection, there's a lot of moving parts in that, and that's a massive finding aid to create. So it's a work in progress. We are still moving along, but it's much better described. It's much easier to use. And next slide. And now we can exhibit the collection regularly to promote it. We have an arrangement with the music hall here, Mason Hall, that's where the School of Music is based. So I moved 2 of our exhibit cases over there, and we have now a rotating exhibit of popular sheet music, so folks know that the collection exists, that it's there, that we have it. It's nice. You should come and see it.
I'll also add, one of the main reasons we wanted to focus so much on this is because there are so many great titles in here, but we weren't seeing use to reflect like the scope of the collection. And I will say that we have now had a couple of instructors reach out to us because they're doing, they're focusing on like historic popular sheet music from this time or this region. So now that we have it a little more processed on our end, we're able to work with the collection and actually know what we have and be able to partner with instructors. We'll be working with someone who's teaching this summer on the Great American Songbook. So we are super excited to be able to incorporate this more into instruction and outreach because it really is a cool collection. So as we mentioned, we are not catalogers. So listening to some of the other presentations in this conference, it was like mind-blowing, lots of things that I would love to know more about. So in addition to questions, if anybody has any advice or suggestions or things that we should consider, I would love to take the remainder of our time and kind of open it up to wherever the conversation goes.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to say your names wrong all of a sudden. Katelynn and Mandi.
Oh, you got it.
Yay! Okay, helpful MOOC people. Feel free to unmute and comment if you have something to say for Katelynn and Mandi.
I will also give my sympathies to Anna, I'm sorry, the 25,000 pieces of sheet music described in a Word document. That's a special kind of horror. I'm so sorry.
Andrea says, we are creating our sheet music finding aids by accession and gift.
Oh boy. And yeah, I'm glad we're not the only one suffering from 1 item per folder. That's just a plague that happened, I think, in every archive in the 80s. And I see someone mentioned the Sheet Music Consortium. Can someone tell us about that?
I'll bite. This is Mark Scharf. It's a database that was begun in the late 2000s. It housed at UCLA, but was meant to be a repository for records of various kinds for sheet music. In a previous presentation, I was asking Anna about the status of the Sheet Music Consortium because our experience is that we don't know if anybody is actively doing anything with it. We have a lot of records in the Sheet Music Consortium here, and we'd like to replace them because they've changed, and some of our links to all of the links that we have in our Sheet Music Consortium are dead because we've changed where the records live. But we haven't figured out how to contribute new stuff to it or who even to talk to about it. So we're very interested in finding out what anybody else knows.
Thank you, Mark.
Awesome.
There's also a comment by David Floyd that gives a link for University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, my alma mater, and how they do it. So you might want to go copy that quick.
Yep, I
Yep.
got that.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice, like, clean UI for it, yeah. Also, thank you for the sheet music consortium link. I appreciate that. That's a lovely resource to have, and it would definitely streamline our searching process to see what else has been digitized. So thank you. That really helps. Now we don't have to do 700 searches.